Welcome to Minnesota Vikings Chat, the podcast of MinnesotaVikingsChat.com. I'm your host, David Erickson, the publisher of Minnesota Vikings Chat, and in episode number 11, we'll discuss the Vikings linebacker situation. Joe Webb switched to wide receiver, from quarterback to wide receiver. Chris Kluwe signed with another team. The Packers may have a new reality show, and of course we'll close with the Vikings' new stadium design. The Vikings linebacker situation. Erin Henderson made news this week by saying in an interview with 1500ESPN.com that he's pissed. He's angry. I'll read you the quote from the article and from the interview, and we'll go from there. I haven't been more pissed I couldn't tell you. I don't think I've ever been this pissed in my entire life to just hear people talk about stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about. I guess it's getting to a point where it's like, dang, I just want a little bit of respect. I'm not asking you to call me the greatest linebacker to ever play the game yet. Maybe one day we might get to that point, but show me a little bit of respect for what I've done and for what I've accomplished in this league, end quote. So I find it is a little amusing. He's got a chip on his shoulder. It's, I guess, not surprising that he does. He earned a spot on the Vikings roster as an undrafted free agent. His brother, of course, E.J. Henderson, was a starting middle linebacker for the Vikings, so he had a bit of a sibling rivalry going on there. But he did make the team. He did make the Vikings roster on a roster that is weak at the linebacker position, and from my perspective, I'd have a lot more respect for Erin Henderson if he'd respect his own assignments. Last year we saw him freelancing. We saw him leaving his receiver uncovered for wide open, easy touchdowns. All right, so respect your own position, respect the game, respect your assignments, cover who you're supposed to cover, and you might not get as much disrespect as you feel that you feel that you're getting right now. So I am a little bit skeptical. He's coming in as the apparent middle linebacker position is apparently his to lose. As I said, I am skeptical of that because he hasn't proven he has the discipline to stand his assignments. But not saying that he can't become a decent linebacker. I think he is a decent linebacker on, again, a core that is a weak spot in the team. But if you look back and look at E.J. Henderson, his first year as starting middle linebacker in 2004, he was completely lost. I remember a play against the Eagles, a goal line stand against the Eagles, where Henderson was calling out the assignments, and he turned his head left, and the ball snapped, and the play went right by him, and the Eagles scored. So he wasn't paying attention when he should have been paying attention. The middle linebacker spot is a tough spot because it's the quarterback of the defense. So you need to make sure everybody's in position. You get to call the plays and everything. So it's more complicated than other positions. But you look at E.J. Henderson's example, and after that year where he learned on the job, he turned in a good year and a half of really, really good middle linebacker play. It was never the adequate cover two middle linebacker that we needed to play, but he was dominant at times. And it's a position on the Vikings that hasn't been really filled in a dominant way since like 1999 with Ed McDaniel. So I decided to, as I was thinking about this middle linebacker position and where we are with on the current roster, to look back at some 40 times, because really that's what we're talking about with the cover two, is you need to be fast enough to cover that deep seam down the middle. E.J. Henderson couldn't do it. Jasper Brinkley definitely couldn't do it. And what we really want of our middle linebackers to be able to do that. So going through the 40 times that I've researched here, E.J. Henderson, his combine 40 time was 4.8 seconds, 40-yard dash. So that sort of explains that, right? Jasper Brinkley I looked at Brinkley's combine numbers, and he had, surprisingly to me, 4.67 40-yard dash at the combine. I looked at that and I thought that cannot be correct, because he did not have that speed on the field when he played for the Vikings. When he was the middle linebacker last year, he was not that fast. But then I remembered he had hip surgery. He lost a whole year due to hip surgery in 2011 season. He lost due to that. Apparently, it was a hip labral tear. The Vikings had moved up in the 2009 draft to pick Jasper Brinkley in the 5th round. They exchanged 5th-round picks with Washington, and then gave Washington their 7th-round pick in order to move up a couple of spots and select Brinkley. So he was a player that we really wanted. And that 4.67 combine speed was likely the reason why. But he got injured. And when he was given the starting spot in 2012, he proved that he wasn't fast enough. I mean, that injury likely slowed him down. He wasn't fast enough to cover the deep middle. Plus, he was, as Rick has pointed out in previous podcasts, he was the 2nd worst linebacker in tackling in 2012. His 15, this is according to Pro Football Focus, his 15 missed tackles were the most among NFL linebackers. 15 missed tackles. So there's a reason we let him go. He was not very good as a run defender, and he couldn't cover the deep middle in middle linebacker. But clearly, the Vikings wanted somebody who had the speed to cover the deep middle. That's why they moved up to get him in 2009 with a 4.67 combine 40-yard dash. So you look at the rest of the Vikings linebacker core, and what do we got regarding speed? Chad Greenway had a 4.76 combine 40-yard dash. Erin Henderson, the heir apparent at middle linebacker, had 4.73 combine 40-yard dash. So, he's going to be improvement over Brinkley, who I think was probably slower than E.J. Henderson's 4.8. He's faster than Greenway. So, maybe he can cover that deep middle. I'm not saying he can't. I'd like to see it. But you got to do something before you can, demand respect. Ode Cole, 4.76 combine dash. Ode Cole is sort of a dark horse favorite among fans because what he did in one preseason game against backup quarterbacks. So there's that. But 4.76 40-yard dash is not ideal. Tyrone McKenzie again, 4.76 40-yard dash. Marvin Mitchell, 4.87 40-yard dash at the combine, so that's not really going to work. This year's draft picks, Gerald Hodges had 4.78 combine at 40-yard dash, but he also recorded a 4.7 pro day 40-yard dash, so maybe there's a little bit more speed than that looks than it looks at the combine. Michael Motti had 4.79 40-yard dash. I don't know when or where that was recorded, but I don't think it was at the combine because he's coming off an ACL. And then finally, I saved the fastest for last. Larry Dean had a 4.5 combine 40-yard dash. So if you're looking for speed to cover that deep middle that we need out of our middle linebacker, Larry Dean's your guy. However, there's a reason he's been a special teams ace. He's 5'11", 226 pounds. So he's not going to have the bulk you need in a middle linebacker. So that's likely why he hasn't had a chance and probably won't get a chance there. So we'll see how that competition plays out. That's sort of what we've got in the house right now with our linebacking core and what we need. With that, I'm going to wrap this podcast, and so make sure that you go to MinnesotaVikings.com, MinnesotaVikingsChat.com/subscribe to subscribe to the email update if you don't want to miss any of these podcasts. Get them delivered directly to your inbox at MinnesotaVikingsChat.com/subscribe. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/MinnesotaVikingsChat. Follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/MNVikingsChat and use the Vikings Chat hashtag to talk Vikings online. So we know that you're talking about Vikings, especially during game days. And subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these podcasts. Until next week. Go Vikings.